one pattern in the data I'm going to show you at the end of this video that I genuinely did not expect. Once I saw it, it reframed everything. I thought I knew about why I was getting distracted. I spent 3 videos explaining how I tried to fix my focus, sleep systems, morning structure, deep work blocks, and I thought it was working. So I decided to actually measure it. Not estimate, not guess, track every single distraction time for a full week. Every single time I picked up my phone mid-task, every tab switched, every time I broke focus to check something, or took a break that could have waited, all of it logged as lag time. The number was worse than I expected. There's one pattern in the data I'll show you at the end that reframed everything that I thought I understood about why I was getting distracted. Stay with me on this one. This is part 4 of fixing my life like a system. I fixed sleep in the first video, then the morning routine structure, and then the deep work blocks. Now I'm measuring whether any of it actually worked. I'm Patrick. These videos are a message to my younger self of lessons I wish I knew sooner. So in this world full of noise and distractions, I want to help filter some of this out so you can focus on what actually matters. Section 1. Why I decided to track it. Here's the problem with most productivity experiments. You feel like you're improving, but feeling better and actually performing better are 2 different things. I built the deep work block, sitting down every morning, starting on time, phone in another room, and subjectively, it felt like it was working. But I had no data, just a feeling. And the feeling about your own performance are almost always optimistic, right? We remember the good sessions, and we blur out the bad ones. So I needed numbers, actual hours, not to beat myself up, but to actually see what was happening and use the insights to make better decisions. What doesn't get measured, it doesn't get improved, and we need to bring awareness to where we're actually wasting time. You can't fix a problem you haven't accurately measured. Section 2. How I tracked it. The system was simple on purpose. Every time I broke focus, I wrote it down. I would time when I switched, I would time when I took breaks, and for how long until I got back to work. Anything and everything from work hours, my gym blocks, morning and evening time, and before and after work if any. Breaks and sleep time as well. I used a Google Sheet on my laptop and phone. This was with Claude. I helped set it up to automatically track all my averages for the week. One day of information means very little on its own. You need to think in longer time frames because this is going to lead to better results. Track your data for longer and you'll be able to get more meaningful and insightful results out of this. Because if I opened a spreadsheet to log a distraction, you end up coming up with a good idea of kind of how your daily structure is set up. I tracked every hour of my day for 7 days. I ended up liking the system so much, I ended up doing it for a month until I was happy with my time usage, but because I was actually aware of what I was spending my time on and making the intentional choice, not letting an algorithm decide for me, but I noticed that as soon as I stopped, like any of the systems I'm showing you, you'll naturally revert back to the path of least resistance, what you were doing before, if you will. So it's important to keep coming back to these systems when you notice yourself drifting. Section 3. What the data actually showed. Here's what a week of honest tracking looked like. Average lag time versus work hours. The lag time was higher than I would want to admit, but that's what happens. But remember, the thing you're optimizing for most is your work hours. So far in the series, we've fixed multiple areas of our lives with systems. Now it's just about putting in as many hours into our main thing as possible, give ourselves the best chances of success. So for the first week average of my lag time, and work time was about 1-to-1, an even ratio. So if we had 16 hours of awake time during the day, half of that was work, half of it was lag. Not great, but not terrible either. But if you were to ask me before I actually tracked it, I would have thought it would have been much higher. That's the gap between feeling productive and actually being productive. The other thing the data showed was my worst sessions weren't random. They followed a pattern, and the pattern is what I'm about to show you. Section 4. The pattern I didn't expect. Here's what the data showed that I genuinely didn't see coming. My distractions weren't random throughout the day. It spiked at the same windows almost every single day. Always right after the gym, I had lag time when I would eat and shower, but it would usually drag on for an extra hour or so, longer than it needed to. And about 3 to 4 hours into my work, I would always feel the need for a break from whatever I was doing, which would also run on, leading me to not want to get back to work. These 2 windows were responsible for the majority of my breaks, not randomly, but at similar time every day. And it started to make sense when you think about it. The brain wants to resist hard things. The moment you sit down to do something difficult, there's a pull to delay it, something to check first, or wrap up, or get settled. But the end window surprised me. Finishing something requires a decision. Getting to work after you come back from a break or doing something else, since you killed the momentum. And decisions are uncomfortable. Getting into motion, again, takes energy and effort. Because finishing means you have to actually evaluate whether it was good enough. So instead of finishing or starting again, you just drift. You extend the task past its natural endpoint. You scroll, you check, you do anything except close the loop. It's not laziness per se, it's more avoiding judgment and the bit of discomfort it takes to start again and get back into momentum. Once I saw the data, I could see it happening in real time. The distraction isn't random, it's always at the moment that requires the most of you. Section 6. What I changed because of the data. Once I saw the pattern, the fix became obvious. Some interventions, I'm not going to give you some basic advice like the 5-second rule, count to 5 and just do it. I'm sure you've already heard of this, but it doesn't solve the root issue of things. So first you need to have some sort of tactical system in place for what you want to get done in the day. I mean, pretty obvious, no shit, right? If you have no idea what you're going to be doing, how are you going to actually get anything done? Use literally anything. I've tried them all from Google Sheets, Google Docs, Notion, Apple Notes, Todoist. This is to write stuff down that you need to do, not a daily to-do list. That's not how I set it up, but just everyday stuff, life stuff, business related. Anything that comes to mind, I just write it down there. So it's kind of like storing the idea away, and I'll get to those eventually. Next is your calendar. So I use Google Calendar to time block my days and kind of a rough idea for what my structure will look like. But let's be honest, unless it's a meeting, calendars and time blocks don't always go as planned, right? And having some time dedicated each day to your main thing, at least 3 to 4 hours, is all you really need to get progressively better, which is also really important. And for most things, it only really takes 20 hours of work to get in the top 10% for almost any skill. But people will wait 2 years to start the first 20 hours is the crazy part. And there's no finish line is the other thing. So pick something you're willing to stick to for at least 3 to 5 years, I would say, without needing to see any results, because sometimes that's exactly how long it's going to take. Track everything. Track every time you stop working. Go to the Google Sheets and put it in and update how many hours you've worked and your daily hours goal right under that, and then have a weekly average of your total work hours. So this is the next big thing. This will motivate you to keep going half the time when you need to take a break, because it brings awareness back to your main thing and how much work you've really been putting in. You don't need more willpower to focus. You just need a better system that makes drifting harder than just finishing. Section 6. What this points to next. Here's what a week of data showed me that 3 weeks of trying couldn't. The systems were helping, but I was fighting my own neurochemistry every session. My brain was still generating exits, still looking for a way out of the discomfort, which meant that the next variable isn't structural, it's chemical. What am I feeding my brain between sessions? What am I feeding it first thing in the morning, or what's making the discomfort feel worse than it needs to be? That's in the next video, but 7 days of eliminating dopamine inputs entirely. I want to be honest, I was not looking forward to it, knowing how boring it would be initially, but I digress. Here's the thing the data actually proved. The problem was never time itself. I had enough hours, the same as everyone else, right? The problem was never even distraction in the way I thought about it. It wasn't the phone or all the tabs or the notifications. Those were just the exits that your brain would just naturally run to, the path of least resistance. The real problem was that I was sitting down to do hard things for less hours than I actually wanted to work for. I wanted to get more done in a day, and I need to optimize the actual time I had, my work time, better and eliminate more lag time. And that's a systems problem, not a willpower problem or a discipline problem. Design problem. And design problems have solutions. A week of tracking changed more than months of trying. Not because the tracking fixed things directly, but because it showed me exactly where I am. You can grind harder at the wrong target forever and wonder why nothing moves. Or you can spend a week figuring out what the actual target is, and like any muscle, everything is a learnable skill and can be improved. Just like working more focused for 4 hours, like I showed in the last video, is a skill. So is working for more hours. You need both to win. You need to work smart, you need to work hard. If you don't, Someone else there is going to do both and is going to beat you. Actually, well, there probably already is someone out there with everything you want and half of what you have. That's the crazy part if you think about it, but it's true. And it's so simple, but most people forget this. I was thinking about this recently. Life is incredibly simple, but there's just so many simple things to remember. That's what makes it hard. But just like lifting heavier weights to grow more muscle or spending more on ads to get more clients, just things that fundamentally make sense if you think about it for more than a second. You can work for more hours to get more done. You can work more efficiently or more focused for your work blocks and also get more done. And time is your most valuable resource and should be optimized. So the only two ways you can really optimize it are working longer and making your work hours more efficient. Most people skip this. But remember, take consistent action on your main thing and don't stop. Peace.